Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine.
In 1989, it made the news headlines that a lone wolf Nigerian supercomputer wizard in the United States had discovered how to build the fastest supercomputer and discovered how to always compute fastest. I am that Nigerian supercomputer scientist that was in the news back in 1989 and in the news for discovering practical parallel supercomputing. I was in the news because I was unconventional and saw something previously unseen, namely a new way of supercomputing. In the old way of supercomputing, a supercomputer that did only one thing at a time was used to solve the toughest problems that arose in mathematics, science, and engineering. In my new way of supercomputing, I used the slowest processors that each merely executed 47,303 calculations per second per processor. I am that lone wolf supercomputer scientist that was in the news for discovering how to perform the fastest calculations and how to do so across a new internet, that is a new global network of 65,536 inexpensive, tightly coupled commodity off-the-shelf processors that shared nothing between each other. What is the contribution of Philip Emeagwali to the development of the computer? I discovered how to always perform the world's fastest computations and perform it with the world's slowest processors. I was in the news in 1989 because my experimental discovery of practical parallel supercomputing marked a milestone in the history of the computer. For me, Philip Emeagwali, my experimental discovery of 1989 of practical parallel supercomputing wasn't unexpected. I expected to confirm my earlier theoretical discovery of how to massively parallel process across a new internet that will become a virtual supercomputer. I expected to confirm that I could communicate across and compute on 65,536 computational fluid dynamics codes and communicate and compute them at once. As a theory, my theoretical discovery of parallel supercomputing was ridiculed as a huge waste of everybody's time. Yet, I discovered how to save everybody time and how to do so by synchronously communicating and simultaneously computing in only one day what used to take 65,536 days or 180 years. The contribution of Philip Emeagwali to the development of the computer is this. I experimentally discovered how to parallel process across a new internet, that is a new global network of 65,536 central processing units. After my discovery, a grand challenge problem that formerly took 65,536 days or 180 years of time to solution on one central processing unit now takes only 1 day of time to solution across a new internet. Metaphorically speaking, that was how I discovered 180 years in 1 day. Back in 1989, the award committee of the Computer Society was not aware that I was black and African, and for that reason gave me credit for discovering practical parallel supercomputing, and did so without taking race into consideration. But scientists that knew that I was black and African were terribly upset that the Computer Society gave me the top award in the field of supercomputing and gave it to me without digging deeper to discover that I was black and African. In that respect, the IEEE Computer Society did not give the top supercomputer award to a black supercomputer scientist. I simply kept the credits for my contributions, and I could keep them because I was the sole inventor of practical parallel supercomputing and the sole expert on the new supercomputer that parallel processed across my ensemble of 64 binary thousand processors. Parallel processing appeared as science fiction on February 1, 1922, and as 64,000 human computers working together and in parallel and doing so to forecast the weather. The precondition to forecasting the weather is that those 64,000 human computers must solve the initial boundary value grand challenge problem of calculus that is governed by the primitive equations of meteorology. For 36 years after 1922, interest in parallel processing was lost in part because the automatic programmable computer that provided the motivation for faster computing did not exist and was not invented until 1946. Parallel processing started appearing in computer science literature and appeared regularly onwards of 1958. For the 31 years onward of 1958, parallel processing was mocked at computer science conferences, and the supercomputer technology was ridiculed as a beautiful theory that lacked an experimental confirmation.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.